Support comes from
Entergy provides much more than power. We support science and engineering at local schools to build a brighter path to better jobs and help prepare the next generation. Because together, we power life. Entergy.
Additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, with support from viewers like you.
This is a very difficult time for all of us in America, regardless of our ethnic or religious backgrounds.
What now in the aftermath of another American mass shooting?
It is up to you to decide if it's important to you or not.
A new kind of ID card being issued in Louisiana.
The oil and gas industry that we think of today is very different than we might have thought of 10, 20, or 30 years ago.
Oil prices have increased, but drilling and production work hasn't come back. What does that mean for our state? Hey everyone, I'm Andre Morrow. Thanks so much for joining us. Much more on those stories in a moment on this week's edition of SWI. But first, the Archdiocese of New Orleans today releasing its list of 57 priests credibly accused of sexually abusing minors. Some of the abuse dates as far back as the 1910s. In addition to New Orleans, the Diocese of Baton Rouge, Shreveport, Lafayette, Houma-Thibodaux say they will or may provide their own lists, but when is not exactly known. Now let's check on some of the other stories making headlines across Louisiana. Governor John Bel Edwards met this week with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. It's part of a Louisiana economic development mission in Israel. The two leaders discussed the strong relationship they share, plus trade and economic issues important to Israel, the U.S., and Louisiana. During the governor's visit, the Baton Rouge-based Water Institute of the Gulf signed an agreement with an Israeli group to conduct research together. The commitment between the Water Campus and Israel's Zuckerberg Institute for Water Research is for 5 years. The two will work on groundwater research and how it applies to farming and drinking water. Part of LSU's Behind the Ballot discussion this week included this event called Who Run the World? The Rising Influence of Women in Politics. State Representatives Pat Smith, a Democrat, and Paula Davis, a Republican, were on hand.
What really motivated me during my campaign was I was in a meeting and a man told me that a woman's place is in the kitchen. And I thought, you really don't know me because I don't cook.
You're seeing more stronger women who want to be in the legislature and who want to be there to deal with the issues and to say to men, you will not control me. You will not control the issues that I bring forth because those are real issues that you've never realized were there. And so we're bringing them up. Let's have a debate, let's have a conversation, and let's see who wins.
In what's considered a win for the electorate, more than 307,000 Louisiana voters cast their ballots in advance of next week's primary. The Secretary of State's office now predicts turnout will reach 30 to 35% on Election Day. A check is in the mail for about 90,000 Louisiana residents. Treasurer John Schroeder says his office is sending the money to people, with some of the checks as much as $1,500. It's money they are owed by the state, coming from the Unclaimed Property Fund. Schroeder says to collect, all you have to do is open your mailbox. Reaction in Louisiana, like much of the nation, to this past Saturday's mass shooting in Pittsburgh has been one of unity and compassion. But it was hate that a gunman took with him into the Tree of Life Synagogue. He opened fire, killing 11 people, injuring 6 others. That city's mayor is calling this tragedy the darkest day in Pittsburgh's history. In Baton Rouge Monday night, about 500 people crowded into Beth Shalom Synagogue, offering prayers during a memorial ceremony. The overarching message, the enemy has not won, we will not be broken. I sat down with Rabbi Barry Weinstein and Reverend Chris Andrews, longtime state and national leaders of interfaith involvement and the need for unity among all of us. Rabbi Weinstein, you currently serve at Temple Sinai in Lake Charles and are Rabbi Emeritus here in Baton Rouge at B'nai Israel. Longtime leader, of course, Reverend Andrews, currently minister with the Jubilee community in Asheville, North Carolina, and in Baton Rouge, former longtime leader of First United Methodist in Baton Rouge. This is a time when people look for you and to you for answers, and I know that's been your experience. What are you telling them?
This is a very difficult time for all of us in America, regardless of our ethnic or religious backgrounds. And when people come to me and speak to me, I share my condolences and my sympathies for all of those in Pittsburgh, the families and friends and Congregation Tree of Life, how sad we are at this very real tragedy and horrific event, really the worst of its kind for American Jewish people ever since the founding of the United States.
Yes, yes. Yeah. Interfaith work has been really what you guys have been known for throughout your careers.
Right.
How are you ministering to your flock?
Well, one of the things about this event, tragic that it is that it shows that pain has no barriers. I mean, we're all one when these kinds of horrific things happen. And I simply try to remind people that the fact that you are upset and distressed and perhaps even stopped in your tracks is a sign of hope. It means that there's decency still in the human heart and spirit.
Absolutely.
Genuine love.
We do become one, and that's one of the central prayers, as Chris knows, in the Jewish religion from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6, verse 4, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Listen, Israel, listen, everybody. There is one God alone, whom we all worship, who is the Father, the Mother, the source of life and goodness. And an event like this, I believe, throughout the country and hopefully the world, helps us all come closer together.
I wonder, repeated assaults on places that were considered safe previously, but it continues in America. And are there solutions to the epidemic? Where do they begin?
I think they start with exactly conversations like this, and with God's help throughout our communities in church, synagogue, mosque, temple, where brother and sister come together to dialogue, as Reverend Andrews and I have helped do here in Baton Rouge for decades. And it's one heart to another heart. It has to be a change of heart for all of us in America to help us realize that we're all, as we say in the Torah, B'Tselem Elohim, in the beginning of Genesis, we're all created in God's image. We are all brother and sister.
Chris?
I would agree with that 100%. I think that the reverencing of life is something that our world needs to work at, and what I mean by that is to think of life as the most precious gift that God has given us. Each of us is a life, and each face, as Barry has already said, has been made in the image of God. So to look at another face is to look really at God. How can we hurt that? How can we do tragic and violent things toward that face? There's something broken in the human psyche when that happens, when violence is visited upon images of God.
A couple of things I want to ask quickly. Do you see an interfaith movement in the wake of this nationally? Have you noticed that? Have you become part of that at all? Or do you think that's one of the things that has to happen?
Well, I think it has to happen. I think there is a great amount of energy right now within the interfaith sector, if you will, across the land. I mean, we had a beautiful service in Baton Rouge the Monday following the tragedy in Pittsburgh that was visited by people of all walks of faith, and some probably of no faith, but they were there because we have a common humanity.
It's a full house.
I heard yesterday on National Public Radio an interview with a pastor, a United Methodist pastor in Lee Summit, Missouri, who is the pastor of the largest Methodist church in the world. Well, it says something to me when 1A that kind of news show would reach out to a minister and have them on for a considerable segment. So yeah, I think there's some energy, don't you, Barry?
No question. We are planning in the Jewish community of Lake Charles also very soon a interfaith brotherhood, sisterhood service. We'll have representatives from the city. The bishop will be with us. And again, it's part of the national movement right now in the interfaith sector, and it's up to us, rabbis and clergy people and imams and leaders of our religious communities, working with our civic leaders to keep this in motion.
Are our national leaders, our local leaders, every leader, are they doing the appropriate steps in the immediacy of this? And what are your suggestions? Should they come to you or ask you?
I think they're doing as well as they know how to do. Our mayor in Baton Rouge has, I think, done an admirable job of offering statements and showing her own concern and sensitivity.
For people here,
yes,
the governor has.
Yes, the governor has.
What about the president of the United States?
The president, I think, is a kind of unique individual in that he's one day he's one place and another day he's another place, so he can be very consoling in one conversation, and then he goes out on one of his rallies and perhaps not intending, but he whips up the kind of the fire, and I'm not sure that that's always the wisest thing.
I like to mention also something.
I noticed that in your hand.
I brought along. I don't know if the cameras can capture this, but it's a Korea ribbon, and it is a way in which we put this ribbon on the mourners of the immediate family, and who are deceased, and we tear it. We cut it with a ribbon or with a small knife, and we wear it for the first several days of mourning of bereavement. It represents the way in which these people were torn from our lives, and it's really, for me, even more, it's the tearing of the fabric of this great land. This is, I love our land. My ancestors came here just two generations ago from Europe. I'm a child of immigrants. We are all
I am as well.
Children of immigrants, and it's a tear in the fabric of society that has happened in Pittsburgh. May they rest in peace.
Yeah.
And this event happened in Pittsburgh, but it is all of us that's affected.
It is all of us.
We are all Pittsburgh in a real sense.
As we are all Berliners, we are all Pittsburghers.
We are. Right. And need to remember that to be one.
The pain of another is my pain. Yeah.
Thank you both so much.
Thank you, Andre.
Thank you, Andre.
Really appreciate it. Louisiana's economic reliance on oil and gas drilling is shifting. The price of oil has stabilized now at about $70 per barrel since falling to under $30 in 2016, but drilling activity in our state has not come back with the price. Kelly Spires is here now to tell us how the economy might be changing.
That's true, Andre. Drilling and production, that's called the upstream part of the oil and gas sector. At the same time that has fallen off, the downstream part of the sector, that's refining chemicals and energy exports, that's thrived.
When you think about the oil and gas sector, you probably picture derricks and deep water rigs, but that's not all there is.
The oil and gas industry that we think of today is very different than we might have thought of 10, 20, or 30 years ago, in that we've got a lot of employment in the refining, the chemicals, and the energy export. And that's a larger driver of employment than the upstream oil and gas production sector today.
Greg Upton is with the Center for Energy Studies at LSU. The upstream sector has traditionally played a larger role in the economy than the downstream. That's changing.
When you look over the past really 30, 40 years in Louisiana, upstream oil and gas production's actually been declining. It's been declining for a few reasons. First of all, people have been moving further and further offshore into federal waters. But also, of course, we've had this really large increase in production from shale geological formations.
So when the price fell out in 2014, that had huge consequences.
We were employing over 50,000 workers, and we lost about 20,000 of those workers in that drop.
But now the price has come back, but not the jobs.
We would have estimated that about 10,000 of those jobs would have come back by today. But actually, we unfortunately haven't seen that. We're still projecting over the next few years that we'll see some of that employment come back, but the rate at which that employment comes back is slower than what we thought even just a few years ago.
When you look at downstream production, it's a different story. That's the refining, the chemical industry, and the energy exports sector, liquefied natural gas primarily.
Again, if you go back about 10 years to about 2006, Louisiana had somewhere a little over 30,000 workers working in the refining and chemical sector. Over this last decade, that's increased consistently, almost year over year. And today, we actually employ more people in the refining and chemical and energy export than we do in the upstream oil and gas production part of the sector.
Part of the reason the downstream sector has done so well is also a reason for the upstream struggles. Natural gas drilling that is cheaper in other parts of the country than drilling in Louisiana.
We've had these huge increases in oil and gas production. That's driven down the price of both oil and natural gas. And that's been really good for the downstream part of the sector that use that as feedstocks in order to sell those products all over the world.
It all adds up to billions of dollars in investment.
Over the last 10 years or so, we've had about $60 billion in infrastructural investments in Louisiana. That's a really big number for a small state like Louisiana. And we've got another 90 billion so of project announcements that are going to happen over the next few years.
Upton says one of the benefits of the shift from downstream to upstream employment is that because companies are putting in so much investment, they're likely to continually need workers.
Historically, when you look at the downstream sectors, the volatility in employment from year to year is lower than the upstream oil and gas extraction, which will move pretty significantly when there's a change in the price of oil and or natural gas.
However, there is a risk. We're exporting about 3 million barrels a day of different chemicals and petroleum-based products.
We're really opening ourselves up for our local business cycles to be driven by things that are happening all over the world. And in particular, when you have economic growth in the developing world, such as Asia and Africa, that could be really good for our local economy because it's driving demand for these products.
But when there's a global downturn or even trade spats, that can influence the local economy here in Louisiana. In the past, though, those fluctuations have been tied to the price of oil, as we've seen play out since the drop in 2014. So will a downstream heavy economy be less volatile than what we had?
If I had to make a guess of what's going to happen over the next decades today, I would say that hopefully that this transition to an export economy would lead to declines in the volatility for employment in the state. But that's an empirical question to be seen, and that's something we're going to be watching really closely.
Now, Upton did point out some light on the horizon for the drilling sector. There has been some initial activity in an oil formation or a play called the Austin Chalk that sweeps through central Louisiana.
All right, interesting. Kelly, thanks so much for that. No one wants to go to the Office of Motor Vehicles to get or renew a driver's license, right? And guess what? Your next experience there might be more complicated if you don't have something called a real ID. Now, Kelly went and did this story hoping to make things a little easier for you. So she went to get one, and what did you find when you went?
That's right, Andre. It was my birthday, and on your birthday, every 4 years, your license expires. So I wanted to go through the process and report back. Louisiana has a new kind of license that you'll need by October 2020 if you want to fly without a passport. It's called a Real ID.
We're a Real ID compliant state. So we are absolutely in every system across the nation that we are compliant.
Karen St. Germain is the commissioner of the Office of Motor Vehicles. Being a Real ID compliant state means that they follow a nationally standardized way IDs are made.
Real ID is a form of identification that is accepted by the federal government for federal buildings, for plane flight, airspace, and that was the real reasoning behind the inception of Real ID 911, September 11, 2001. That was the beginning of the decision making on that.
The REAL ID Act was passed by Congress in 2005 by recommendation from the 9/11 Commission. According to the commission, those who committed the attacks easily obtained fraudulent driver's licenses. It reasoned IDs would be more secure with more layers to confirm one's identity. Now, quite a bit of time has passed since then.
It's been a time-consuming thing. Many states were able to implement it right away. Our state, our legislature wasn't really into doing that ASAP, and I happened to be the one that brought the bill up. It passed, but the governor vetoed it at that time.
Real ID has been a source of concern for proponents of small government. Some complained it was an unfunded mandate that states update their licensing procedures and equipment, but it's also been the subject of a lot of false information. For example, there's no national database where all this personal information is stored.
That was the biggest problem when I first brought the bill up, was making sure that people understood we wanted there to be an option. If you chose to get it, that was great, and if you chose not to, that was still okay.
So how do you get a real ID? You'll need enough paperwork to prove 5 things: your identity, lawful status in the country, your date of birth, your social security number, and proof of residence, which will require 2 documents.
To get a real ID, you need to bring in a certified birth certificate, your social security card, or a W-2 form. Those things have been identified. Your identity has already been identified.
First, your identity. You can use a current valid driver's license for that and as one of the documents to prove your residence. Your lawful status in the country can be verified either by a certified copy of your birth certificate or an unexpired passport. Your date of birth will be covered by one of those documents. Your social security number is on your social security card, of course, but alternatively, you could bring in a W-2 or other tax form with both your name and social security number. A pay stub might have that information as well. Your second proof of residence document could be a bill in your name. The OMV processing your documents will copy them unless you ask them not to, but they'll have to take down that information anyway. But remember, you don't have to get a real ID if you don't want one.
It's simply your choice. It is up to you to decide if it's important to you or not. At this point in time, we're doing quite a few because of the date that was given in error. But the reason we did it early was so that people would have time for their expirations to come up and to do it all at the same time.
Now, a real ID will have a star in the upper right-hand corner. Waiting was the hardest part for me. If you've got all of your paperwork in line, it's relatively easy to get.
Yeah, great information. I got mine not long ago, so I know what you're talking about, and thank you for that. I want to take a second here, everyone. This is your last day here at LPB, so I want to thank you for the contributions that you made and for everything you've done for us.
Thank you so
here.
much, Andre.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Working in a garden has proven physiological effects. It decreases the stress hormone cortisol while releasing dopamine and serotonin. Both are neurotransmitters that make us feel good. The Alexandria VA healthcare system and the Natural Resources Conservation Service in Louisiana have formed a one-of-a-kind partnership to share the therapeutic effects of agriculture with veterans.
Gardening can help to restore hope. When you plant a seed, it engages that sense of expectation that something good is going to happen.
It's something about growing things that makes a person feel good.
What we do, we get the guys to just come out and plant and pull and harvest and just get some type of sense of accomplishment.
I really enjoy doing it, getting out of that room and doing stuff like this. Just raking in the dirt and watching the plants grow. Every time I look outside, I see this. It's wonderful.
Something as small as planting a seed and looking forward to that seed turning into a bud can be a very rewarding and pleasurable experience.
You start it off, you see it grow, you take care of it, you pick it, and also you can eat it.
Oh, yes. Stuff that comes out of a garden has a different taste than stuff that you buy out of Walmart. It's just a more natural taste. I was here the early part of the summer, and we ate a lot of tomatoes, cucumbers. We made salsa. We actually ate 2 cantaloupes and watermelon. And I'm not a big cantaloupe fan, but it's real good.
People say, where'd this come from? I said, out of the garden. They said, what? I said, yeah, come out of the garden. Where's the garden at? I said, right out the window there. Well, I enjoy most about the garden here was getting the ground ready and planting it. When you keep your mind occupied, time goes by quicker.
Like I say, this is a good idea as far as the garden because it breaks the monotony of just sitting around. I'm a disabled veteran and I come here quite often, takes my mind off my problems. Really relaxing.
Being able to just come out and enjoy yourself, and a lot of times it's in the morning time, it's nice and quiet and pleasant. It just soothes your mind. Just taking your time, it's like you're one-on-one with the plant. Some veterans never had a garden, but when they went home, they started their own garden. They come back and they show us pictures. Some of them bring up some of the things that they have grown, and they just be like, man, we're so thankful for you all to give us that opportunity to try something different.
This segment is part of LPB's contribution to Veterans Coming Home, a public media initiative between Wisconsin Public Television and the Kindling Group. It's made possible with support from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Visit the Veterans Coming Home Facebook page for more veteran stories. And everyone, that's our show for this week. Remember, you can watch LPB on demand on your phone or tablet with our LPB Anywhere app. The download's free from your app store, and you can catch LPB news and public affairs shows and other Louisiana programs you've come to enjoy over the years. And please be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For everyone here at Louisiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Andre Morrow. Thanks for watching. Until next time, that's the state we're in.
Support comes from
Entergy provides much more than power. We support science and engineering at local schools to build a brighter path to better jobs and help prepare the next generation. Because together, we power life. Entergy.
Additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, with support from viewers like you.